Finally, New Mexico got the message that it's fall. So we're about 8 miles from my house, and we left this. It's like what, 9 o'clock right now, but we're in this canyon and there's no sunlight yet. And I wanted to be here when the sunlight first starts hitting all of this fall colors. But when we left my house, it was 67, and when we got here, 8 miles away, it's 37. I think we did 1,000 feet of elevation. Not that bad. Anyways, so we're out here this morning because last night I was driving through and we saw a couple of spots that we wanted to check out for some fall color photography. So the plan was actually, I wanted to come out here. I have some wide angle shots in mind. Well, not super wide, but like wide to medium shots. But I just pulled in here real quick because I saw this creek bed and there's like some stuff going down it, and there's lots of color on each side, and there's these pine trees. So long story short, I'm gonna use the long lens and I'm gonna try some compression. Let me take you through this shot and then we'll see if it works. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but that's what landscape photography is. All right, so that's the shot. And I started it at 70, but what I want is more compression. So I want, because there's lots of stuff going that way and there's lots of like just a straight verticalness, I want some more compression. So 200, 135 to 200 is going to help bring that stuff in, and it's going to make it look not so long. It's going to shorten it all up. So what I'm going to do, actually, no, that's at 70, and that's not, I'm going to have to go back that way. All right, I'm gonna have to stand on this rock because I want a little more elevation. All right, so what I kind of like right here is the trees on the right and the left. Those two big pine trees are giving me a nice frame. So I'm gonna crop in until they're like literally framing the subject. So I think like that looks really cool. I'm just going to focus on the middle and take the shot. 100th of a second, f5, 800 ISO because hand holding. And I don't want a lot of depth of field either. I want just enough to showcase kind of the middle of where I'm focusing and those rocks and the leaves and everything right there, but I don't want all of this stuff before and after me in focus. So that's why f5. And I'm too lazy to put a tripod on right now, so because this is more of a scouting shot. I was thinking maybe light for this shot, but I just don't think this shot's going to work with light. I think this is actually better for this shot. But we'll see. That light's coming down. Probably in about 30 minutes or so, we're going to have this canyon will be in light. But it's going to be harsh because it's already... I don't have my phone. It's like, what, 9:30? It's 9:30 already. So by the time the sun comes up over this mountain, we're going to be having some pretty harsh light in here. Trial and error. All right, so before the sunrise, the sunlight hits this canyon, there's one more spot that's like less than half a mile up the road. We're gonna go back to that. That's the spot I saw last night. I took a couple handheld shots, but I wanna get the tripod out and really fine tune the composition. I'm gonna walk you guys through those. So let's get back to the car and get over there before this sunlight hits us. Still in the shade. definitely not gonna need this lens. I'm gonna go with a 2470 on this one. All right. Do you think we'll need this? Just in case we see a bear or a squirrel. This is for something totally unrelated. But yes, we do tend to carry swords in our car. It's normal, right? All right, this is the goods. Let's go set up. All right, so this is spot number one. So I've got this tree right here on this rock and a bunch of little leafy stuff and some nice fall colors. And then if I want, for a potentially wider shot, there's this fallen log making a V right into it, but I might not put that in there. Tip number one for fall stuff. So circular polarizers will help cut any glare and shine that are on the leaves. And it's more definitely gonna help if and when the sunlight comes in here, or if you're in a wet area. Like, it hasn't rained here in like over probably at least 6 weeks or more. But it definitely helps for wet, rainy areas like in the Northeast, Northwest, normal places, the UK, where there's like water. Of course, they also help for water too, for darkening and stuff, but this is one of the less commonly thought about uses for them, is fall colors. So it's going to help reduce the glare, and it's going to bring out the vibrancy of those yellows and oranges and greens. So I am going to go a little bit higher now. I'm going to go f11, ISO 100, because now I'm on a tripod, so shutter speed doesn't matter because there's no wind here either. Like, this stuff ain't moving. I'm going to focus right there on that big rock in the middle. F11 should be good. Alright, well, I kind of like this shot right here. Maybe I'm stealing it from Brittany because she totally shot this first and I didn't even see it. But since mine's going in the video, anyway, so here's the shot. What I want is, I want it to be more like that, because again, I want this little thing on the right, this tree branch, or I want this little pine tree, this, well, big pine tree on the right to be my frame, and then I really like this arching branch there, and then these leaves right here in front, I want them out of focus. Oops. So what I'm gonna do though is I want a 4x5 crop, so I'm gonna shoot wider than I need. That way I can crop it properly. So I'm gonna shoot it right about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on that branch. And then I'm at f2.8, 1/15 of a second, ISO 100. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I've got my poor little tripod up as high as it can go. One of these days I really need to invest in a bigger tripod. Actually, kind of like that now. I'm not sure how I feel about this one hanging down in the middle of my shot. Actually, I don't think I like it. Alright, I do like that. Back it all the way out. Alright, I've cropped off a little bit because it's 16:9, but you can see here how by lowering the whole thing, that little leafy bit that I didn't like right there is now much higher up in the shot, and it's less distracting as we look through the archway. Before, when I had it up here, that was like directly in the archway. So I like that a lot better. I kind of like that. I really like how this leads. I might do a leading shot of the creek, but not right here. But I think I like it like that. And then again, shooting at 2.8, focusing on the middle of the frame in the midground, that's really going to help blur out all of this stuff and make it look a little more subtle. Circular polarizer is kind of pointless right now because there's no light, there's no water, there's no condensation, there's no reflection, so that's not really necessary, but it will be very helpful here in a little bit. And I actually took these shots from yesterday, and the circular polar, I didn't take a before and after. I should have. I wasn't thinking about putting them in a video, but I was really happy with these shots, and just know that the circular polarizer cut through all the glare that was on these little ferns and in the backlit trees. That's when it made a huge difference, and I really like the way this one came out. So as soon as the sunlight starts coming through here, we'll be able, my plan is to get this tree backlit. That's what I want, and I can see the light on the tops of these trees right here right now, so it really is coming. I got the Jetboil though. I think we're gonna make some tea. That's why we had the sword out here, because we're doing a photo shoot that's unrelated for her second Instagram page. She does like a books and tea Instagram page, and sometimes I help her with things. So we brought the broadsword out because it's she's doing a shot with the Witcher series books, and I don't know. That's not gonna be in the video. That's totally unrelated. That's just us goofing around for her second Instagram page. But if y'all want to check it out, you can. I'll put the link in the description below, because I help her with that sometimes, and it's fun. Different type of natural product photography stuff. All right, Brittany requires tea. I desire tea. Make some tea real quick. Got the Jetboil. And we got some Earl Grey, some Irish breakfast. Got my Belgian rock sugar. It's so much nicer than regular sugar for tea. It doesn't obstruct the flavor of the tea as much as like regular sugar. All right, here we go. Okay, let's talk about failure for a minute. Failure on multiple levels. So the first failure is definitely that on the YouTube level, I filmed a bunch of more stuff and I kind of wrapped it up. Well, I forgot to wrap it up, but I came away the other day with a few more images from that session. And I'm just, after editing them, or trying to edit them, I'm just not happy with them. And I think I was getting a little frustrated out there because, you know, sometimes the ideas that you have in here don't translate to where you're at. And, you know, thinking that the light would help and that the light was going to do certain things without actually having checked where the light was going to be, I could have easily used a number of apps to help me figure out where the sun was going to be and if the light was going to do what I thought it was going to do, but it didn't. And it was getting really frustrating. We've been out there for a long time, and I basically just called it quits. And Brittany and I got distracted with some other, you know, her book and tea shots. And then after that, I just, you know, we just got back in the car and I left. So I didn't finish the video up out there, but that's okay. And then the curse of the YouTuber and the curse of photography just kind of, in general, just kind of kicked in. And of course, I went back out there yesterday, so I filmed this whole part, the first part of it, a few days ago. Then I went back out there yesterday, and we went to just another spot right there in that creeky area, just a little bit down the road, or across the street actually, and it's the same area. And I found so many more cool compositions and so many more cool spots, and I wasn't thinking about vlogging at all, so I only had my R6 with my 2470. I didn't even take a tripod, but because I was just kind of following Brittany, and she kind of saw something, and then we were just kind of scouting, and then before you know it, we'd hiked like a mile or a couple miles easily, and I found all these amazing compositions. So I did a bunch of handheld stuff, and I actually really like the set of images that I got from yesterday's trip way more than the few images that I got from this last trip, and I wish that I would have vlogged it. That's where the whole curse of the YouTuber thing comes in. But I figure what I would do is I'm going to go through, in order to wrap this up, and show you guys some of my editing process so that I can show you those images, or a couple of them at least. And I'm going to do, it's not going to be a tutorial or anything. I'm going to go kind of fast, but I am going to show you my editing process on here, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and then the before and afters, because I did find a lot of great compositions, but I really had to work on the edits to get the images to look the way that I wanted them to look. And this is in no way telling anybody how to edit, or that they should use certain plugins or presets or editing methods or anything like that. You know, this is just simply how I'm doing it because of what I saw in here and what I want to show you guys. And for me, that required a good bit of editing. So I'm going to show you that. So let's hop into the computer right now and edit some fall colors. Alright, so here's the first shot that I want to do, and obviously it looks like crap right now, but what I liked about it was this archway here, and then these blurred out leaves on the sides, and then everything's kind of pushing you towards this rock here in the middle with this beautiful yellow color of leaves underneath it. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of some chromatic aberration, because that's definitely there in the background. Then I'm going to come up here to my presets. So this is a slight plug for my own presets that I've created. Obviously I created them for me, but you guys really seem to be liking them, and I really am liking this first autumnal color shift for a lot of these images. I have a few more, but they're just I'm really digging this first one lately for these last set of images. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And then I'm going to come down here, and after I put the preset on, I'm going to put the lens profile corrections on, clean that up a little bit. So now we need to work on some of these issues here, like the highlights. See, bring those down just a little bit. Now we need to boost these shadows quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and boost the blacks too, looking at my histogram. And I'm going to come in here to the brush, and I'm going to bring up the whites, the highlights, and maybe the temperature just a little bit. And I'm going to paint that in this bottom half. Then I'm going to do a new brush, grab some clarity, paint that in. But then I gotta bring, because that had the old brush presets on it, so all I want to add is that clarity. Actually, maybe I do want to bring up those whites and highlights a little bit more. Okay, so that's good for that. Let's get this into Photoshop. Alright, first thing we need to do is crop ratio. I'm going to crop it to a 4:5, which is why I shot wider than I need. I like that. Cut out some of that unnecessary foreground in there. Next thing, Control J, new copy, new new layer copy. And then, like I said, I'm not pushing anything here. I'm just showing you guys what I'm using. And for this, I'm going to use Luminar. So a lot of people are up in arms about Luminar and the AI and all that stuff lately, and the sky replacements and all that. But Luminar does a lot more than just sky replacements. And I am going to be using it in this case mainly for a little bit of smart contrast, and most importantly, this is tip number 3 for landscapes in general sometimes, but definitely fall foliage and backlit and really busy conditions. This is where it really helps. So if you've seen people like Nick Page and Michael Shainblum and Aaron Babnick and all those people, if you've seen their type of work, then you've seen something called the Orton effect, which is where they make the highlights a little softer and a little glowier. So they do theirs a different way, but Luminar also does that. And you can see here with this slider, that is like the ultra, like all the way 100%, and it looks like crap, of course. But what people like Nick Page do, and some of these other big photographers, is they use something called luminosity masks. Well, I'm too lazy for that, and I have done it in the past, but I just don't like doing it. So Luminar does it for you. So I can just go in here and create the luminosity mask, and basically what that will do is it tells it to only target the light areas of the image, of the highlights. And because the highlights are the only thing that I want to soften up and that I want to give that glow effect. So now you'll see if I bring this down, it looks very detailed and crisp and all that in here. And so if we bring this up, I'm going to bring it up a lot since I created that luminosity mask. It's going to benefit from the shadows are not going to get this effect. And then I'm going to come in here to the advanced settings, and I'm going to just boost everything just a hair. So I still want the overall look to be pretty subtle, and even though this is at 100%, again, because I did the luminosity mask, it's not like it was earlier when I showed you how horrible it looked. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to the advanced contrast, and I'm going to target just the highlight contrast and just bring those down just a bit and soften them up just a little bit more so that they don't look too harsh. And then I'm going to come up in here to the light, and I'm going to use the smart contrast overall just to bring that up just a little bit. All right, so that is looking much better. See, like Luminar doesn't have to be this evil sky replacement AI is ruining photography type of thing. It can be just like anything else where it's just helping you. I'm not drastically changing the believability of this image or anything like that. I'm just adding a little bit extra pop to it that anybody and clearly a lot of other people still do in Photoshop. In this case, I'm just doing it a little bit easier. So there it is. You can see my before and after. Luminar, that's the before, and that's the after, and that's just softening it up just a little bit. And I can go a little bit further in that, and I'm going to do just a real quick dodge layer. I'm going to come over here and grab my dodge tool, and I'm just going to brighten up some of these areas that I want people to focus on. So I'm going to kind of dodge in this natural light, this natural leading line that's going to help push you to that rock. Just by bringing out some of these highlights a little bit more. So that's super subtle, but it does help just a little bit with that, with those leading lines and the guiding you in, and that's all that I really wanted. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think I want to do anything else, so I'm going to go ahead and save it and move to the next one. And that's the end of my tea, which is always very sad. So I'm going to try to wrap it up here, and I just want to finish on a few like positive notes instead of I'm seeing a lot of negativity out there lately on AI and how it's going to ruin photography and all that stuff. And all of those arguments are valid, and I watch those people and I respect those people as artists, as photographers. If you're in this business, if you're in the landscape photography and YouTube, then you probably know who I'm talking about. And I have met some of these people, and I just want to say that it's not always the extremes. I mean, isn't this how the entire world is right now and how it kind of always is? It's always the extremes that people get hooked up on. And it's like, yes, sky replacement and stuff like that, and just full on AI and all to the extreme can be misleading. It is misleading, especially if you don't say what you're doing and all that. And it is trickery, and it can make people lazy, and all of that stuff is all true. However, that's one extreme. And like I showed you in my examples, I'm not using it that way. I'm using it to do things that people are already doing with different things. You know, like the Orton effect, making it that much easier for me is great because, you know, taking the time to do the layers and do the luminosity masks and do the, you know, all of that, it takes a lot of extra time, and some people just don't want to spend that extra time. I always am a big proponent of doing, you know, spending the extra time that you want in post-production to get the looks that you want. But this just makes it a little easier for me, and so I am totally comfortable with doing that to my images and feeling good about the results that I'm getting. So stuff like that, the little stuff like the smart contrast and, you know, the things that Luminar does. And again, this isn't sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Luminar have no idea I'm doing this video. It's not about them at all. It's just about the things that I use and how I'm personally editing to get the most out of my images and still keep them in that realm of photography and believable and, you know, not completely fake and all that stuff. So I hope you guys can understand that or appreciate that or take something away from this whole debate and see that there is a middle ground, just like there is in life. You know, you don't have to live on the extremes of anything, of politics, of religion, of, you know, what kind of teas and coffees to drink. You don't have to live to the extreme of anything. And editing with AI and editing with tools is and photography in general is a big part of that. You know, I'm not a purist, and I'm not a complete AI photography, you know, Photoshop compositing master. I'm in the middle, and that's how I roll. So I hope you guys got something out of that. Here's the rest of the images that I got. I really enjoyed this set much more. And on another note, from photography failure standpoint, is that like I don't think of myself as a woodland photographer. I love woodlands. I live in the Gila National Forest, which is an amazing place. I spend a lot of time in forests in general. I watch a lot of YouTubers. Coincidentally, they all kind of happen to be British, you know, like Tom Heaton, Simon Baxter. I'm a huge fan of Simon Baxter. So if you love woodland photography, you should go check out his stuff. People like Adam from First Man Photography. And coincidentally, they're all British. That has nothing to do with anything. But, you know, they live in an area where woodland is very interesting and very prominent. I live in the desert where it's not very prominent. However, it is very interesting. And I struggle. My whole point with this is I watch people like that, and it looks easy to watch their YouTube videos and see their images and all of that. But if it's not something you're used to, it could be any type of photography, then my whole point is, like, you're gonna struggle, and I struggle. And that whole first part of this video, like, I struggled, and I came away with images that I wasn't very happy with. So what do? I force myself to go back out there again because I live here and I'm always out there anyways. And it's like, I might as well try to start reshaping my eye for composition in the woodland style. And that's what I feel like I'm getting better at. So I'm much happier with these images moving forward, and then I'm going to keep going out and keep getting more, and hopefully, you know, and it's also conditions, right? Like, a big part of the British stuff that makes a lot of their things amazing, and this isn't singling anything out, it's just, again, what I watch, they have things like mist, you know, and fog, and I don't have that, and that really creates separation, and it makes sometimes finding compositions a little easier, and I don't have any of that, so I have to figure out how to capture, you know, pleasing images in my woods, which are totally different style trees, the rocks, the shapes, you know, everything, the textures. And I'm slowly figuring out how to do that, and that's what it's all about. So just get out there, keep trying, and use your tools that you also have available to you to help you. You know, when I'm out there shooting, I'm always thinking, what can I do to this in post that's going to help me get the look that I see in my head? And that's what I've done here. So all of that wrapped in these images. And that's enough rambling. It's second breakfast time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. The links to all of the stuff that I use are down below, including my preset pack, which definitely supports the channel, and I've really loved that you guys are so interested in those, and I really appreciate it. So huge shout outs to you guys. If you want to go even a step further for channel support, I have the memberships down below. You can check that out. For the Green Chi and the Chai Tea members, I do a lot of extra videos, and I do some more in-depth editing and stuff like that, deep dives behind the scenes, all of that for you guys. I really appreciate your support. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. I've got new videos every week. If you guys are still here all the way to the end and all the way through those plugs and the rants and everything, I super appreciate it. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.